going on, everyone? So Maxwell Lewis has really shined in Summer League. He hasn't gotten the opportunity the way that I had hoped. I thought he would be playing some significant minutes, would be the starter. They've kind of gone with Cole Schweider. I think they just really want to kind of get a good look at him, which is understandable, right? Lewis is already on the roster. They don't really have to worry about that. So it's just kind of like, what do we want? Right? Do we want to really get a good look at Lewis, who is already on the roster, who we'll see in training camp and we'll see how it goes? Or do we want to get a look at Cole Schweider as a guy that we may potentially bring in with that last roster spot? So I do kind of get it. I just really like what we've seen from Max Lewis so far in Summer League. And I made a video not too long ago comparing him to a young Mikal Bridges, a Phoenix Suns level Mikal Bridges. Not so much the Brooklyn Nets. You've kind of really seen him kind of step up and be this like legit 3-level scorer that can guard the best player on the other team. And it's like, whoa. But that Phoenix Suns sizable perimeter wing that can defend the best player and give you 15 points a night, right? That's what I could see Max Lewis kind of becoming. Now, I've seen other people throw out other comparisons. I've even seen people, he's like Kuzma, like an athletic Kuzma, right? Okay, I could see that as well. It's just kind of my own comparison. I'm sure you have one that comes to mind that maybe is not Mikal Bridges, or maybe you like the Mikal Bridges. Regardless, the point is, I think that Maxwell Lewis has a very bright future with the Lakers. I think he's going to be a very good player. He has shown the ability to shoot the 3-ball. He has shown the ability to defend at a high level. Granted, it's Summer League. How does that translate against NBA players? But with his size, his length, his wingspan, his foot speed, his athleticism, I absolutely think he can translate into a legit two-way player. He just looks big, right? Like, you see other guys that are his height that he's playing against, and he just looks so much bigger than them, right? Which is good. And he's a guy that I really do think, not so much this year. I don't expect him to play very much this year, if at all. I think he kind of goes back and forth between the G League as well as the actual NBA roster. Not saying that we'll never see him take the court, but I think it won't be anything significant unless he's just like that good once we get into training camp and he's undeniable and you got to play him, right? That could be a possibility. But you just look at the Lakers roster and you're like, man, they got, Taurean Prince, we got Rui Hachimura, you got Jared Vanderbilt, you got Cam Reddish. Like, you got several guys that very likely are going to be in the pecking order above Maxwell Lewis. But he is very good, very talented, and the Lakers have now officially locked him up long term. So, based on reports, Lakers reportedly signed Maxwell Lewis to a 4-year deal. So, reporting on second-round pick Maxwell Lewis, 4-year contract with the Lakers. First 2 years are fully guaranteed with salaries around $1.1 million for 2023, 2024, $1.4 million for 2024, 2025, partially guaranteed $100K for 2025, 2026, and a team option for 26, 27. This makes me so happy because this means that the Lakers have learned their lesson over the last few years. Austin Reeves, Max Christie is coming up, right? The Lakers have done this repeatedly for years, and it has put them in so many binds with our young guys, where they give them these 2-year deals, and then the piper comes, and you got to pay, and they just end up putting themselves in a position, and just now they got to overpay, or they're in a position where they can't really pay, or they got to just like let the guy go, like an Alex Caruso or something like that. So this is a good sign because it shows that the Lakers have officially kind of changed their mindset about how they are going to approach these younger guys going forward. And I love that. I love that because if this was last year even, chances are the Lakers would have signed this guy to a 2-year deal. He would have been really good, looked really good, right? Like Max Christie. Even if Max Christie doesn't play, there's going to be a team, just by seeing the strides that he's made in Summer League, there is going to be a team that says, let's throw some money at him, and the Lakers are going to have to match that and overpay for him. That becomes a problem. Same thing could happen with Maxwell Lewis if they didn't do what they did. And now the Lakers are almost going to have to hide Max Christie if they plan on keeping him, right? Because if he starts playing and he has a breakout season like Austin Reeves, he's not undrafted, right? So it becomes a completely different scenario, and the Lakers could end up having to pay a ridiculous amount of money. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen, right? Hopefully it's a scenario kind of like what happened with Austin Reeves, where, Austin Reeves can be offered 4 years, $100 million, but no team does. So the Lakers are able to just get him at 4 years, $56 million. Hopefully it's something similar with Max Christie, but there's a real possibility that some team goes, man, Max Christie, he'll be 21 next year. Let's go get this kid. Let's throw some money. He'd be great on our roster. Now the Lakers are in a bit of a bind or in a bit of a pickle. So I'm just glad that they made the change and, change the direction in which they go about these young, undrafted, drafted players. Because that was the Lakers thing. Let's give these guys 2 years. For why, I don't know. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they didn't just do the typical, here's 4 years. I get the Lakers were trying to kind of keep flexibility and stuff, but the problem is, is that extra million, especially like Lewis, he's making 1.1 and then 1.4. Is that really going to be the difference between you making a competitive roster? And of course not, right? And that was the thing. Max Christie, you could still have the same thing. Austin Reeves, instead of paying him $12 million this year, you might have been able to pay him, $2 million this year, right? And $2 million next year. And then had to go and give him whatever contract it was. Now, I do think the Austin Reeves scenario worked out seamlessly. I think that was, for all the, worst case scenarios, I think the Lakers, it ended up landing in the best case scenario, right? They kind of gambled there a little bit and they got lucky and cleared it. So I'm glad that they didn't do that with Lewis. I really like what we're seeing with Lewis. And even his last game, he was spectacular. He was 5 of 9 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, but just a defensive menace, man. He's just so big, so strong, so quick, so athletic. He's almost too athletic right now, right? He hasn't learned to control himself. And that's something he's really got to do, right? We've seen several times during Summer League, they'll give him the ball and he's just going 100 miles a minute, and he's misses an easy one or a little gimmick, or, kind of blows past the basket or whatever, right? He's got to learn better control. He's a kid. He'll learn that. That'll come. The guy has just been a real standout. I really like what we're seeing with Maxwell Lewis. I really think that he's a guy that has a real bright spot and could be our starting small forward in the next, 2 years, if not sooner. I mean, because he's already a better shooter than Jared Vanderbilt. And so if he can translate his shooting to actual NBA games, because again, it's one thing to be able to knock it down in Summer League. It's another thing to be able to knock it down when the pressure is on in the NBA. But, I mean, just think of the potential with this roster in the next, 3 years. I mean, you got Austin Reeves, you got Max Christie, you got Maxwell Lewis, you got Rui Hachimura, right? Colin Castleton, right? You got Shafino. Man, this roster is just, whew. And then that's not even counting if Jared Vanderbilt, if he develops a shot, now you got him as an elite defensive guy, as well as a guy that can just even respectfully knock down the 3 ball. Jackson Hayes, you can keep him long term, right? Now you got him and Colin. I mean, dude, the Lakers. I mean, you want to talk about a good, solid, young core that has a lot of potential for the future. That's the Lakers right now, right? And I mean, when we're talking about the Lakers, it's either going to go one of two ways. Either they keep those guys and they continue to move forward, or the other option is they pull a Anthony Davis trade and they package a bunch of these guys and go get the next star when LeBron leaves, which could be a possibility as well. But if they do, I like Maxwell Lewis very likely might make Jared Vanderbilt expendable. Because again, you got him, you got Christie, you got D'Lo for at least most likely another year, because I don't think he's going to get more than $18.5 million. So he probably opts in again, unless the Lakers end up trading him, right? Like you got Shafino, like you got several guys that you could almost make an argument that like you're going to have to pay Vando this coming year, and unless he makes real strides off it. Now, look, if he comes in this year and he's like 35% from three, which isn't great, it's just like that's league average, right? If he comes in and he's 35% from three, then no, I don't think you trade him. I think you keep him and you continue to develop him. But if he comes in and he's still 30 to 32% from three, I think you go with Lewis. You have him cheaper for the next few years. You're going to have to pay Jared Vanderbilt, which he's probably going to demand minimum $8 to $10 million a year. So you're going to have to pay him. And it's like, at that point, you might as well evolve Lewis into that guy that you want Vando to be, because he's already a better shooter. He's not as big like height-wise as Vando, but still has a lot of the same intangibles. And I think I'd rather have the better two-way guy than like the elite defensive guy that can't shoot, right? Like the specialist, I guess. So unless you can get Vando for cheap. But like I said, I'm happy that the Lakers actually did this and they didn't stick to the same script that they usually do, because that would have been very disappointing. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What did you think? What do you think about them signing Maxwell Lewis? How do you feel about it? Do you like it? Do you love it? Somewhere in between? How do you feel? Let me know down in the comments.